Decrypting the day the Ark rested. Have you ever marveled at the mesmerizing symphony of patterns, cycles, and repetitions that weave through the very fabric of our surroundings? Once we become fully aware of their presence, it can become almost irresistible to seek out their origins and to understand their purpose. The next narrative in this pattern that expands our knowledge of a much larger picture is what happens at the end of 150 days. The phrase 150 days is found not once but twice. Genesis 7 reads, "And the waters prevailed on the earth for 150 days. And again in Genesis 8 we read, "And the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the waters decreased. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat." Furthermore, I am most grateful that the record contains the ancient coordinate tracking system of the moon. So simple, but it is just what we need to decrypt this puzzle. That is, the 7th month and the 17th day. This 150 days works out to be the sum of the 40 days of rain plus the 110 days of no rain, to get a total of 150 days. The narrative explains that both the start flood date and this date are on the 17th day. The flood started in the 2nd month, and here we are 5 months later in the 7th month. Approximately 5 months times 30 days a month equals 150 days. In Stellaria, it is March 20th, -2725. For confirmation, we just need to count back from the 17th to the 1st day of the month. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Yep, the moon is in the sunset horizon, once again settling my doubts and confirming in my mind that this is the date that the author intended. But wait, there's more. There's much more. On this 150th day, not just one, but 2 planets enter their apparent retrograde motion. The first is Mercury. Its modern name is after a Roman god. As the scriptures forbid the worship of heavenly bodies, we are much more interested in the Hebrew name of this planet, which is Kokav. This simply means star. Here, this star planet is entering its apparent backward motion in the Hebrew letter constellation Alef. The second planet to enter its apparent retrograde motion on this 150th day is Jupiter. Jupiter is again the name of a Roman god. Its Hebrew name is Zedek, meaning righteousness. This planet is entering its slow retrograde motion in the Hebrew letter constellation Samek. This is the second time that this calendar narrative marks apparent retrograde motions. The first retrograde was hidden in a riddle, to which the answer was Mercury. Here is an animation of apparent retrograde motion. Apparent retrograde is a perceived planetary motion where, from the viewpoint of Earth, a planet appears to move backward against the backdrop of the stars. It is called apparent because we know planets do not stop in their orbit and move backwards. It is rather a perceived observation as both the Earth and planets orbit the Sun. We will most definitely be looking to see if there is a reason why the narrative is drawing our attention to unique apparent planetary motions. We will revisit these apparent retrogrades later, as they are without a doubt deserving of their own chapter. In Genesis 8, we find 3 words that are prefixed with Alef Tav. But God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark.
ויזכור אלוהים את נוח ואת כל החיה ואת כל הבהמה אשר איתו בתיבה.
For the first Alef Tav prefixed word, we have Et Noach. Saturn and the moon are in Nun, which is the first letter of Noah's name. Saturn is called in Hebrew Shabtai, which means restful one, probably referring to its slow, distant orbit around the Sun. Saturn remains in Nun through most of this narrative. Unfortunately, there are no planets in the letters for the other 2 Alef Tav prefixed words. Nothing in Chet for Chaya, nothing in Bet for Behema. Decrypting this puzzle takes patience. You know those people who quit working on a jigsaw puzzle when the first piece they pick up does not appear to fit? Well, if you have come this far, then it is obvious that you are not the type of person to quit when things get a bit challenging. This astronomical puzzle takes time and concentration to see if something else has been left hidden, waiting to be rediscovered. Let's have a close look at the sunset horizon. It is here, at the start of the narrative, that we observe the constellation letters Alef, Bet, Gimel. We discuss this region represented Noah's house, Bet, the clean animals in the Alef ox, and the unclean animals in the Gimel, camel. All of these were contained within the constellation letters Teva, which means ark. This region of stars also contains an easy-to-recognize region of 2 star clusters. Clusters that make up part of the gate of the ecliptic, where the sun, moon, and planets pass betwixt these gateposts. At the start of the flood, this gate of the ecliptic is in the eastern horizon at sunset. Now, after 150 days, the gate of the ecliptic is in the western horizon. It is here, in this same region, where at the end of 150 days, we now see Mercury entering its apparent retrograde motion in Alef. Let's take a broader look. If we observe the stars over the course of these 150 days, the red portion of the Milky Way sinks below the sunset horizon and continues to be hidden from view. likened unto a red landmass of stars being flooded over and submerged below the horizon. Over the course of 150 days, this blue band of water-like stars was observed to travel directly overhead and settle out along the southwest horizon. If we look at this motion again, it can be likened unto fountains bursting forth in the east and rains pouring down in the west at the start of the flood. Then these water-like stars slowly settle back down and rest on the horizon over the course of these 150 days. This massive blue band of stars appears to animate how the waters receded and decreased. This intriguing narrative of the Ark coming to rest on the majestic mountains of Ararat has captivated the hearts and dreams of many, prompting some to embark on the challenging adventure to uncover any remains of this wooden vessel believed to be buried deep within the icy glaciers atop the summit. Even though the mountains of Ararat are in Turkey, Armenia considers the Mount of Ararat an important part of her heritage. As the sun gracefully sets on the western regions of Armenia, the majestic silhouette of the Ararat Mountains assumes a pivotal role, commanding the attention of all who behold it. These grand peaks, with their awe-inspiring presence, stand as an essential element in Armenia's picturesque skyline, lending an unmistakable charm to the country's western border. In 1992, the coat of arms of Armenia honored this ancient narrative, with a centerpiece containing Noah's Ark resting atop the rightmost peak, with the receding waters below. Here is another rendition depicting the Ark on the larger right peak of Ararat. Massive quantities of water in the form of white snow and ice blanket the tops of these mountains. Nestled within this white blanket are dark outcrops of rocks. When it comes to these two mountains, the taller of the two boasts a larger quantity of dark silhouettes than the smaller mountain. From a distance, one can observe these silhouettes of rock and shadow, dark splotches that capture and fuel the imaginations of those who have read the ancient narratives. Unfortunately, there are few individuals who lay false claims to finding the Ark. These false claims are eventually debunked due to a lack of credible evidence. Mount Ararat is the largest mountain in Turkey, at about 5,100 meters. It is not the largest mountain in the world, but it represents one of the largest in the Fertile Crescent. These magnificent peaks are nestled on the eastern border of Turkey and bestow their meltwaters upon the Aras River, a lifeline that gracefully flows and eventually merges into the vast embrace of the Caspian Sea. These exquisite mountains stand as a testament to Turkey's majestic landscape, a land that proudly claims the headwaters of the great Euphrates and Tigris rivers, rivers which traverse mighty deserts to bestow fertility on the southeast regions of the Fertile Crescent. Traveling the length of the majestic Euphrates River, seasoned travelers would undoubtedly entertain those inhabiting the Fertile Crescent with vivid descriptions of these two awe-inspiring peaks. Nestled along the eastern flank of these mountains, a breathtaking panorama unfolds. A fertile valley that gently ebbs into view, adorned with an exquisite tapestry of sprawling farmlands. Such splendor owes its existence to the gentle melt from the renowned Ararat and neighboring peaks, which nourish the bountiful Aras River flowing through Armenia. I really enjoyed revisiting and exploring this particular evening in Stellarium, March 20th, -2725, noticing something massive, something surprisingly subtle. If we want to memorize the passage of time using the stars, it means we have to draw our attention to these subtle details. In Stellarium, we set the date, location, and landscape to the Ararat region. The mountains of Ararat are in the western sunset horizon. Now I am certain that most of us have mastered the skill of the classic dot-to-dot activity puzzles. For this dot-to-dot puzzle, we use our mind's eye to connect the bright stars in the west. First, take a moment to memorize the shape of the two mountains of Ararat jutting up from the sunset horizon. Next, can we pick out a dot-to-dot outline of these two mountains in the brightest western stars? Well, that is interestingly intriguing. Surprisingly, these brilliantly bright stars occupy the prestigious positions among the top 17 stars observable in the nocturnal expanse, including Sirius, the brightest of stars. But wait, look even closer. Can we see how these two mountains are immersed in a blue band of water-like stars? Oh, but we are not done yet. Can you spot a box shape resting peacefully atop the taller mountain on the right? Let us muse over this ancient calendar puzzle in our minds. Over the course of these 150 days, the letter constellations for Theba, or Arc, started in the east, rose atop the blue band of stars, and has now settled down on the western sunset horizon. Tav was the first letter, marking the letter constellations for the word Theba, or Arc. This Tav constellation is now hidden by the sun, obscured from view. As this calendar arc has rested, so also Tav has touched down below the horizon. The brightest stars in this region are now flipped, creating this new dot-to-dot pattern of two mountains submerged in a blue band of stars with a small box at the top right. The silhouette of the mountains of Ararat, duplicated in these bright stars, is truly a massive constellation to observe. On this date in the narrative, Venus reflects the sun's light, outshining the stars in brightness. Venus is settling in the constellation letter Gimel, betwixt the two mountain humps. Here, Venus is close to our galactic anticenter. The first words of verse 4 read, "And rested the ark." This word for resting is related to the meaning of Noah's name, Noach, meaning rest. as we previously observed, both the Moon and Saturn are in the constellation Nun. We can only guess if the author of the narrative harbored some intentions to link the ark's resting and Noah's name within the constellation letter Nun. Needless to say, there is more to see within the meaning of Noah's name, meanings which will be uncovered at a later time. As Venus has drawn our attention to the letter constellation Gimel, let us divert our focus to this region. We have previously explored how Gimel means camel, and spent time searching out the nebula for Gimel shapes. Beholding the snow-clad mountains of Ararat, one may notice that the outline of these two majestic peaks resembles a camel's back. The mountains of Ararat store up water in their snow-packed glaciers. Similarly, camels are capable of storing up very large quantities of water in their digestive and circulatory systems. For the sake of inner nerdiness, it is worthy of noting that the humps of a camel store fat and not water. Camels have a unique ability to survive a long duration without water. Their uncanny ability to retain water makes the camel useful for traversing deserts and drought-stricken regions. The lands that surround Ararat are known for both flooding and summer droughts. On this date, the sun is in the constellation letter Tav, and yet, in about 45 days, the sun will be in the letter Gimel. When the sun is in the constellation letter Gimel, it is not yet the dry summer season, but rather a time when the rains and the snowpacks release their waters down into the valleys. The Gimel, or camel in calendar terms, may have had a sense of a camel storing up water before the drought of summer, just as the two humps of Ararat store water in snow and glaciers for the dry summer months. In the next chapter, we will be looking at some lions.